All right, number 13 asks us to find the tangent of 23 pi over 12. So 23 pi over 12 is not on our unit circle. So what we're going to need to do is find two angle measures that add or subtract to 23 pi over 12, and then use the sum or difference identity for tangent to find that exact value. So let's first, this is going to be equal to the tangent of two numbers added together. Let's find two numbers that add to 23 pi over 12 that are both going to be on our unit circle. So we'll just start with pi over 12, but that's not going to be on our unit circle. Let's try 2 pi over 12. That would be on the unit circle because that's pi over 6. And then add the rest of it, which would be 21 pi over 12. That would also be on the unit circle. This is pi over 6. And then if we divided the top and the bottom by 3, we'd get 7 pi over 4. And that's on the unit circle. So let's put that up in here. Pi over 6 plus 7 pi over 4. All right. And then we're going to use our sum identity for tangent. We get the tangent of this first number, pi over 6, plus the tangent of the second number, 7 pi over 4, divided by 1 minus the tangent of this first number, pi over 6, times the tangent of the second number, 7 pi over 4. All right, and then all of these are going to be on the unit circle. If we look on the unit circle, pi over 6 is right here, and the coordinates of this endpoint are square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. And 7 pi over 4 is down here. The coordinates for that endpoint are square root of 2 over 2 and negative square root of 2 over 2. So the tangent is going to be sine divided by cosine, and that's going to work out to be the square root of 3 over 3. It's 1 over the square root of 3, which if we rationalize our denominator, it's square root of 3 over 3. And many of you have that memorized or have it on your unit circle already. This one, notice that these two numbers are the same. So if you divide this sine divided by that cosine, anything divided by itself is 1. This is negative divided by a positive, so this will be negative 1 for the tangent of this. So let's plug in those values. So we get the square root of 3 over 3 plus negative 1 divided by, let me make this smaller because there's going to be a lot of more calculation that I'm going to have to write here, plus negative 1 divided by 1 minus the square root of 3 over 3 times negative 1. All right, so we can rewrite this as square root of 3 over 3 minus 1 divided by 1 plus the square root of 3 over 3. All right, so let's get a common denominator on the top and bottom there. So that's going to be the square root of 3 minus square root of 3 over 3 minus, this will be 3 over 3, over 3 over 3 minus the square root of 3 over 3. All I did there was just get a common denominator so that we could, this is going to be plus, so that we could combine those fractions. And so that's going to be the square root of 3 minus 3 over 3 divided by 3 plus the square root of 3 over 3. And then if we multiply by the reciprocal, because remember we're dividing here, division is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So this is going to be equal to the square root of 3 minus 3 over 3 times 3 over 3 plus the square root of 3. And then the 3's will cancel. And so what we have here, and let me erase some of this and write this up here. We'll continue this up here so that I don't run out of board space here. But this is going to be the square root of 3 minus 3 divided by 3 plus the square root of 3. All right, now we need to rationalize this denominator. So if we just multiplied by the square root of 3 on top and bottom, well, that would get rid of this radical. But then if we multiplied square root of 3 times 3, well, that's going to just introduce another radical there. Also, if we multiplied by 3 plus the square root of 3, if we FOILed that out, we'd get 9, and on the end we'd get 3, but in the middle we'd have 2 times 3 times the square root of 3. So what we want to do when we have something like this is we're going to multiply by this same thing, but with the opposite sign. And the reason for that is if we FOIL this out, 3 plus the square root of 3 times 3 minus the square root of 3, the 3's, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times negative square root of 3 is negative 3 square root of 3, square root of 3 times 3 is positive 3 square root of 3, and then multiply these, we get minus 3. And these will just go away. And we're left with 6 on the bottom. All right? And then now we have to do this, we have to multiply by the same thing on the top. So 3 minus square root of 3. All right, so if we multiply this top, we get 3, square root of 3 times 3 is 3 square root of 3. Square root of 3 times negative square root of 3 is negative 3. Square root of 3, the inside one's negative 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. And square root of 3 times negative square root of 3 is, negative 3 times negative square root of 3 is positive 3 square root of 3. All right, so what we get on the top is these two will add to 6 square root of 3, negative 3, let's see, negative 3 minus 9 is going to be negative 12. So what we get up here is 6 square root of 3 minus 12 all over 6. And now we can divide this top by 6. And so what we get is the square root of 3 minus 2. Or it may also be written negative 2 plus the square root of 3. So either one of those answers would be correct for this one.